Thank you very much for the marvelous invitation to come here. I got a little spooked, real honestly, a couple of days ago because I got a phone call from Greta, and I was told that she was going to kind of escort me around and take care of me during this whole thing. And we got to talking about our commonalities. And we found out that, first of all, we're both from Illinois. We found out we both grew up Methodist. Yay. I'm talking not loud enough? Okay. All right. We're both from Illinois. We both grew up Methodist. We are bouncing up toward, those 7 and 8 decades of existence on the planet. We both have our graduate degree in counseling. We both are retired school teachers. She just adopted a feral cat, and I have a number of feral cat colonies I feed every night. And then on top of all that, as I mentioned, I'm a licensed rehabilitator, and my specialty was the birds of prey. And lo and behold, she's associated with a shelter or a wildlife sanctuary, and their specialty are the birds of prey. So now if all of that happens in a 10-minute conversation with somebody you don't know, and someplace you're about to go, you get a little spooked. Okay, so at any rate, I do thank her so much for her openness. And I can't help but, I was telling her, although I had my association in Austin with people from the Sci Center, I was never introduced a lot to the philosophical background, and I'm totally blown away by what I've seen here this morning, and feel like such a connection with the hearts of the people that are here. And I couldn't help but reflect a bit on how we got this way. And I had to give a salute a moment ago mentally to my background of my parents, and maybe to say to people how important parenting is when it comes to the people that come after us. On my dad's side, I was so pleased when y'all gave tribute to the Native American people of this nation at the beginning of the opening ceremony, because my grandfather was a pastor to the Navajo people in New Mexico, and he took his whole family out of California and went and lived in the desert. And my father was actually afraid of white guys until he was about 16, because he only ever saw his dad. But they gave service and special service to the Navajo people. On my mom's side, they were immigrants from Czechoslovakia. And my grandmother and grandfather had a really, really big heart. They lived somewhat near a railroad track, and we found out later there were trees that were marked that said, if you need food, go to that house. And she would give them food. And one time that I was spending the night there, I happened to get up in the middle of the night, early morning hours, and I see one of her neighbors stealing vegetables from her garden. And I woke her up. I said, Grandma, Mrs. Kunish is stealing vegetables. She, go to bed, no mention, no mention. So I went back to bed. Sure enough, on or around noon, Miss Kunish comes with a bowl of soup. And so she had taken the vegetables and made soup and brought it to the family. So here was this spirit of caring and sharing that I grew up with. And sometimes it takes something like this to value it and realize that people before you and share the importance of what it's like for all of us to share to the children, how important that is for the future of others. So they already mentioned that I work with the formerly incarcerated, and the place that I work has 170 beds. A friend of mine started this in the late 90s. And when I was a school teacher, she gave me summer jobs and Christmas vacation jobs, and that's how I got into working with it. So when I retired, I just kind of stayed on because I really, really became convinced of the importance of the mission of helping the folks that had kind of done it wrong the first time or the second or the third, and they wound up coming out and having no place to go. It's very difficult frequently to find a place to rent if you have a record, a criminal record. So we rent to basically everybody. And the rent is so low that they're usually able to come out, get a job, and actually afford it. So in Austin, if you wanted to stay someplace and rent a place, you could pay a significant amount of money, maybe $1,500 a month for an apartment. You can do $750 a month at this place. And because of the work with the Sci Center and the Austin Food, the Central Texas Food Bank, we supply a wonderful supper. We supply food, and I'll talk about a little bit more about that, and other services to the people coming out. When you come out, if you're lucky, your place might give you $50 and a bus pass. So you come out and you have nothing but what you're carrying in a sack. If you're lucky, maybe your family hasn't disowned you, and maybe they will come through with, a week's rent so you can get started. So they come to us, some of whom with no money, no funds. Some of the organizations in town, Family Elder Care and Caritas, and some of the others will pay for their first week or two, and they have to hit the ground running and go look for jobs. Well, the problem is they don't have IDs, and they don't have a birth certificate in order to get an ID. And so they're kind of in a bind to begin with. But other organizations we hook them up with, we find them some money to buy that birth certificate, and they have to really, really hit the ground running to get an ID so they can even get a job. So I wanted to give you, some people don't realize this, but the United States incarcerates more people than any nation on earth in a percent sense. We have about 2 million people that are incarcerated. That's about a 700% increase since 1970. And crime itself has not gone up that much. So you say to yourself, well, what happened? The war on drugs, y'all remember that term? The war on drugs came along in 1971, and they decided to really, hit the road trying to arrest people. And so many of them were arrested in drug-related things. The thing is that it really attacked people racially different. Our Black communities were really hit extremely, really hard. They were arrested and convicted 5 times more than white people were. They're 12% of the population, but they're 32% of those who are incarcerated. In the Hispanic community, they're 23% of the nation, but they're 19% populated. They're 19% of the population, but 23% of the incarcerated. Our Native Americans are 2% of our population, but they are 7% incarcerated. Of the white population, which is 59%, they're 31% incarcerated. So it was racially extremely prejudicial. The reasons that so many people also are incarcerated has to do with high bails. There are many people that are waiting in jail because they don't have bail money. And their offense might not, they might have gotten caught with some marijuana, or there are other serious offenses, but there are a lot of people there that that are sitting there just from lack of funds and because they came from poverty situations. Annually, taxpayers pay about $80 million annually to house these people. And so it's a problem for everybody when we cannot get them out of jail. And then you have some people that are innocent that didn't belong there, and we're paying for them, and of course their lives are a real ruin. I want to tell you about one person that lives at our facility, and he is a native Apache Indian. And you may have seen, some of you, at least if you came from Texas, he was featured in Texas Monthly a couple months ago. But he spent 22 years in prison for a murder he did not commit because someone hid evidence. And that murder took place when he was 200 miles away getting a traffic ticket. He lives at our facility. And the Innocence Project, which I can't say enough about, the Innocence Project came and took up his case, and they got all the evidence that they needed, and he was exonerated and then featured in the magazine Texas Monthly. He got a tremendous amount of money for that having happened to him, and he still lives with us in this one room, all by himself in this one room. And it kind of amazes me. But it took its toll on him. He's an alcoholic, and he has a very difficult time from day to day and from week to week. But, we're still plugging along with him, and hoping the best and working with him to help change his life. When you come out and you have no money and you have no food and you have no ID, the place that my friend started in the late 90s is a real godsend. And about 3 years ago, she sold it. And a bunch of us were really, really nervous because we figured it would be, knocked down and have a condo put there. But she found someone that had a like interest in what we were doing. And he is now building, and he will absolutely, he's putting 170 beds in addition in little efficiency apartments upstairs in the next 2 years. So if you're successful downstairs here, you might get yourself an efficiency and progress on through your recovery. So we're real excited, and we're meeting with construction people right now to help with that. When you come out from these situations, it's very, very important that you have some support. The Central Texas Food Bank in Austin is a big contributor to the food. And I have a number of financial supporters that are small financial supporters, but that really help us a lot with the things that we don't get from the Central Texas Food Bank. And then I met the people from the Psy Center. One of my neighbors was associated with the Psy Center, and she knew I was not a good fundraiser, and she connected me with the Psy folks. And what happened was they were having a soup kitchen downtown in Austin, and they had leftovers every Saturday. And they said, why don't you bring a pot, and I'll give you all the leftovers. And so we did. And that's how it started. It was soon apparent that the people at our place loved the soup, and we never had enough. And they began making a pot of soup just for our organization. So I would go down with 2 and 3 pots. Yeah, exactly. And I would go down with 2 and 3 pots and bring all this soup back. Well, at some point, the place where they were having this was changing up its program, and they weren't going to have their soup kitchen there anymore. So they began to help our folks in another direction. I told you that you come out with nothing, basically the clothes you're wearing. So the Psy Center in Austin start giving us backpacks and hygiene and socks and underwear. They gave me wallets. They gave me the plates that we use in the soup kitchen that I started there. And so I don't have to buy those out of the money I want to spend on food. So they give us those plates. And then because I only served Monday through Friday, they jumped in and they bring us food on the weekend. They bring the tacos for the people on Saturday and Sunday morning, and they bring sandwich bags so that the people have something to eat on the weekends. So this has been a marvelous, marvelous association with the folks from the Psy Center, and I can't say enough about that. When we help someone be successful, it's not only for them, but it puts together families. Many of these people have lost their family during the process of not doing right. And when they start to get a job and they start paying some of the child support money and they've sent home a Christmas present, many of them are asked, hey, well, why don't you come and visit the kids? And so it's a marvelous situation to see those success stories, or to see somebody's face when they came in and said, I got a job and it's $15 an hour, and they're totally excited. And then that way they're able to help some people at home. It's a very rewarding kind of a job. It's also sad sometimes. As you probably know, the recidivism rate that happens in this country is quite high. Drugs are an issue all the time. We have them at our place, and we have to work with those people. Sometimes they have to leave us if they are not willing to clean it up, and so that we don't harm the other people that are there. It's a constant battle, but the Psy Centers there have really helped, because food is, other than shelter, food is number one after shelter, and then the basic necessities in order to even step outside of the place and get a job. So I can't say enough about what they have done for us there. I hope that people get some idea of the impact that incarceration has on this nation. and how much it costs taxpayers and how much it costs families and how much it costs individuals. And what I have seen here today has been just marvelous to see how people have jumped in various places in this country and in other countries to help those that are less fortunate. And I really have enjoyed listening to the spirit in which this is given, the humbleness in which this is presented. I'm kind of reminded a little bit of a joke about 2 dogs and a cat that died and went to heaven, but they got down the wrong side of the Rainbow Bridge and they wound up in front of St. Peter instead. And so St. Peter didn't quite know what to do with them. And so he said, well, I don't know what to do here, but you're going to have to stand in front of the throne of God and he's going to make a decision on this. So they go and they stand in front of the throne. And God asked the first dog, well, what have you done that you should come in here? And the dog said, well, I protected my family. I played with the kids. I brought the paper in. I did real right by my people. And God said, you know, you did. Come right over here and sit on my right side. So then he asks the second dog. He says, what did you do? And he says, well, I did all those things too that the other dog did. He said, I also took walks with the kids, and I took them to the playground, and I protected them, and I never messed up in the house. And God said, oh, well, that's really great. You come over and sit here on the left side. And then he says to the cat, what do you have to say? And the cat said, you're sitting in my chair. Well, the dogs had it right. They had service. They had humbleness, you know. And the cat hasn't got it yet. I always say yet, because the people I work with, I say, you haven't got it yet. But, you know, we're going to work on this. So kind of in closing, too, I want to say that I love the motto on the wall at my Sam's Club, because the matriarch of the Walton family has a saying on that wall, and it says, it's not what you reap, it's what you sow. And I really, really like that, and I think that exemplifies the people here and the people that I work with back in Austin. Thank you.